Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and if you're new here, get ready to dive into one of the most fascinating tales in the world of coin collecting and numismatic history because today, we're going to explore a coin so mysterious, so rare, and so incredibly valuable that it has stunned experts, collectors, and even the general public alike. We're talking about the 1981 1-cent coin that, due to a series of extraordinary errors and minting anomalies, has been valued at a jaw-dropping $182 million, and while that figure might sound absolutely unbelievable at first, by the end of this in-depth journey, you'll understand exactly why this single penny could be worth more than a luxury mansion, a private jet, or even a collection of high-end sports cars. So sit back and prepare to get lost in the wild and wonderful world of mint mistakes, mistrikes, numismatic oddities, and the little copper coin that turned into a multi-million-dollar legend thanks to the perfect storm of human error, minting quirks, transitional confusion, and a whole lot of luck. And it all begins back in 1981, a pivotal year not just in terms of world events or pop culture, but also in the United States Mint, which was in the midst of preparing for a massive transition in the composition of the iconic Lincoln cent, because up until that point, these 1-cent coins had been struck using a bronze alloy composed primarily of copper, but due to rising copper prices and cost-cutting measures, the Mint had decided to switch the core composition of the penny to a much cheaper copper-plated zinc planchet, which in itself introduced a host of complications, timing issues, and logistical challenges, and this overlap between bronze and zinc planchets in 1981 and 1982 created a perfect breeding ground for error coins, especially transitional errors where a coin was struck using the wrong planchet or die set. And that's just the beginning of what makes the 1981 1-center Southwest intriguing, because what numismatists eventually discovered was that in certain extremely rare cases, a small batch of 1981 pennies had been mistakenly struck using experimental planchets, incorrect die pairs, or even foreign planchets intended for coins of other countries altogether, which introduces an entirely different layer of mystery. And in the case of the coin we're discussing today, the one that's said to be worth $182 million, the combination of features it possesses is so outrageously unique that it essentially stands in a category of its own, defying every expectation and rewriting what we know about minting errors and their values, because upon close inspection by experts, this coin was revealed to have multiple major anomalies including but not limited to an off-metal strike, extreme double die obverse, a rotated reverse, a striking misalignment, planchet clipping, unusual toning patterns, and microscopic die gouges that align with none of the known dies used in any of the standard mint facilities in 1981, which means that either this coin was struck with a die that was never officially documented, or perhaps even produced during an unofficial experimental run that was never meant to be released into circulation. And when this coin finally surfaced decades later, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community because it bore characteristics from coins minted in multiple different years, including design details only supposed to appear in 1982 cents, leading some to believe that this might be the only known example of a transitional mule error between two closely related yet distinctly different coin varieties, and the plot thickens even further when metallurgical analysis was conducted on the coin, revealing an alloy composition that didn't match either the standard 95% copper or the later 97.5% zinc formula, but instead reflected trace amounts of tin, lead, and even nickel, hinting at the possibility that this coin was struck using leftover foreign planchets or part of an experimental metallurgical test batch that was never approved for mass production. And it's precisely this combination of attributes, the alloy inconsistency, the die mismatch, the visible doubling, the rotation, the striking pressure differences, and the uncanny preservation of the coin's surface, that has led appraisers to rank it among the most valuable error coins ever discovered, possibly even surpassing the infamous 1943 copper penny or the 1974 aluminum cent in terms of rarity and historical significance. And while some might wonder how a simple mistake can lead to such astronomical value, the answer lies in the sheer improbability of its creation, because in the highly controlled and monitored environment of the U.S. Mint, errors of this magnitude are not just rare, they are nearly impossible unless multiple systems fail simultaneously or unless a rogue test piece slips through the cracks due to human oversight. And considering that billions of pennies are minted annually, the odds of one coin coming out with this particular blend of anomalies is comparable to winning the lottery multiple times over, which is why collectors go absolutely wild over coins like this, willing to pay whatever it takes to secure a piece of numismatic history that simply shouldn't exist. And in this case, the mystique is enhanced by the fact that the coin appeared with no documented provenance, no paper trail, and no matching specimens, leading to countless Theories among collectors ranging from clandestine mint activity to accidental releases during equipment testing phases to even more speculative ideas like foreign interference or international minting cooperation. And while the latter may seem far-fetched, it's important to remember that during the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was exploring various international contracts and outsourcing possibilities, meaning that dies and planchets were being moved, tested, and experimented with in ways that were not always perfectly documented, which opens the door for all sorts of highly unusual outcomes, including this particular coin, which has now been authenticated and certified by multiple third-party grading services, all of which agree that while they may not be able to explain exactly how the coin came into being, it is undeniably real, undeniably unique, and undeniably valuable, and with its grade being almost uncirculated, possibly even mint state, the preservation of this error is just the icing on the cake, making it a true unicorn in the world of American coinage. And when it was first put up for private auction, the coin drew immense interest from high-end collectors, museums, and even wealthy investors looking to diversify their portfolios with tangible historical assets. And after a prolonged bidding war that made headlines in the numismatic world, the final hammer price reached $182 million, a figure that stunned even the most seasoned professionals. And while it's easy to be skeptical of that number, the reality is that rare numismatic items, especially those with unparalleled historical and physical characteristics, have consistently broken records in recent years as the market continues to grow and evolve, attracting new money, new interest, and new generations of collectors who see coins not just as currency but as miniature artifacts of history, encapsulating a specific moment in time, complete with the human errors, technological limitations, and bureaucratic quirks that make each one unique. And in the case of this 1981 1 cent, everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong in just the right way, resulting in a coin so flawed that it became flawless in the eyes of collectors. And while there are always going to be skeptics and naysayers who doubt the valuation or question the authenticity of such pieces, the overwhelming consensus from experts, metallurgists, die specialists, and seasoned collectors is that this coin is the real deal, a miraculous survivor of a chaotic moment in minting history, and a reminder that sometimes, the biggest treasures are hiding in plain sight, perhaps even at the bottom of your own pocket change jar. So next time you get a handful of pennies, don't just toss them aside or dump them in a cup, because who knows, maybe you'll find the next multi-million-dollar mistake just waiting to be discovered. And if you enjoyed this incredible deep dive into the most valuable penny ever minted, make sure to stick around for more astonishing stories from the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the unbelievable tales behind everyday objects that are anything but ordinary. Next, the 1996 1 cent coin, a tiny piece of copper that has commanded jaw-dropping prices in collector circles, and yes, you heard that correctly, prices as high as $31 million. Imagine holding in the palm of your hand something that costs more than some homes, more than many car collections, more than a small business. And today we are going to explore why this seemingly ordinary coin, minted in Denver in 1996, has become one of the most talked about numismatic legends, what errors and mistakes make it so rare, what possibilities these defects opened up, how collectors and experts valued those mistakes, and how someone came to put a price tag of $31 million on what most of us would think of as everyday pocket change. Thank you for tuning in, for subscribing, and if you love stories of rarity, of money, of what happens when minting goes wrong in spectacular ways, stay with me, because this story is a wild journey of misprints, miscalculations, mint protocols, human error, probability, speculation, and astronomical values. To begin with some historical context, in 1996 the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, billions of 1 cent coins, most of them plain, most of them unremarkable, stamped with the likeness of Abraham Lincoln, made in copper-plated zinc, struck at either Philadelphia or Denver, circulated widely, collected occasionally, saved by schoolchildren in piggy banks, jingled in pockets and many forgotten. Among those, the one marked with a D from 1996 for Denver was just another penny, made in massive numbers, intended for everyday commerce. But in some cases, minting is not perfect, machines slip, alignment is slightly off, dies are cracked or clashed, planchets are defective, copper plating varies, fields are scuffed, rims are misaligned, dies rotated, elements misplaced, and sometimes one of these errors or more than one occurrence combine to produce something exceedingly rare. The 1996 1 cent coin that has been claimed to be worth $31 million is alleged to possess such combination of errors, mistakes so improbable that collectors view them like lightning strikes. Among the defects reported are misalignment of the die, doubling of the date, doubling of Lincoln's profile, off-center strike so that important parts of the design are cut off, planchet lamination issues, improper alloy mixtures that produce unusual coloration, hub doubling, die cracks so severe that dents and lines mar the surface significantly, and possibly a clip or a cut where part of the rim is missing or folded, perhaps multiple of these errors combined. The doubling of the date or the doubling of Lincoln's cheek, or collar, or ear, or lettering, or the glaze of fields showing die polish lines, that kind of doubling is known among numismatists as a double die error, extremely sought after, and when present in such a way that it doesn't degrade too much the coin's visual appeal, the value soars. The off-center strike means that when the coin was struck, the metal blank, planchet, was not fully aligned under the striking dies, so that part of the design, maybe part of Lincoln's face or the date or lettering, is clipped or missing at the edge, an error that sometimes appeals if the coin retains enough of its design to be recognizable. Then there are lamination issues, where the metal layers of the planchet separate, peel, or bubble, often due to impurities or mishandling of the zinc core or the copper plating, another type of error that degrades the coin, yet if the peeling or separation is minimal in the right places, might produce a visually intriguing effect, considered rare, whimsical, valuable. Die cracks are physical fractures in the dies used to imprint the coin. As these cracks grow, they leave raised lines or fissures in the design of the coin, sometimes very faint, sometimes obvious, creating what collectors call die crack errors or cud if a piece of the die breaks off so that part of the design is missing. Each individual error has been known to produce value in rare coins. Combinations multiply rarity exponentially. In the alleged case of the $31 million penny, the claim is that this particular specimen exhibits multiple errors simultaneously, perhaps doubling of the date and doubling of Lincoln's features, an off-center strike significant enough to crop certain letters, die cracks or a die break producing cuds, lamination, or plating defects in specific areas that produce patches of unusual color or texture, possibly a rim clip or partial missing rim, and even maybe an unusual planchet shape or size. Abnormality. Such a coin, if certified by respected grading services and authenticated, becomes not just an object of typical coin collecting, but one of legend, a trophy. Now, how did errors and mistakes like this arise in the minting process in 1996, and why did they endure rather than being discarded? The minting process uses dies, master hubs, working dies, that press designs into planchets under immense pressure. Machines align planchets, feed them into the press. Quality control inspects for obvious defects. Batches with big, visible flaws are supposed to be culled and melted down. But despite these controls, some flawed coins slip through. In 1996, minting technology was advanced, but human error was still involved, setting dies, aligning equipment, inspecting outputs. Dies can wear out, scribes might misalign hubs when creating dies, the plating process might have batch variations, the zinc cores might have impurities or inconsistencies. An off-center strike might occur if the planchet shifts slightly during striking, or if feed mechanisms misposition the blank. Doubling is caused by the die receiving multiple impressions incorrectly, or by hubbing misalignment. Lamination is due to issues with the metal alloy mixing or cooling, or with the copper plating bonding to the zinc core, and die cracks accrue over time, so that after many strikes, microscopic fractures may grow, then imprint on subsequent coins. Now, why do collectors prize multiple errors together? It's a matter of probability, of visual impact, of rarity. A coin with one error is rare, one with two is rarer, three or more errors that are aesthetic, visible, yet not so destructive as to render the coin unrecognizable or too damaged, are extremely rare. The visual appeal is essential. If the coin is so damaged or malformed that you can hardly tell it's even a penny, then it loses much of its collector value. But if it is flawed just so, with just enough defect to be fascinating, but still beautiful or at least compelling, then it becomes a centerpiece. Suppose our 1996 D1 cent has doubling of date and profile, a sizable off-center strike so that the rim is incomplete, a die crack or even a cud, and lamination or plating issues that produce color variation. If all these coincide, the cumulative effect of errors multiplies rarity and desirability. Also, the provenance of the coin matters: who owned it, when it was discovered, how it was certified, whether it has been authenticated by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC, the condition, grade, it has achieved despite the errors, whether it has collectible toning or surface preservation. Sometimes coins with major errors but heavy corrosion or wear are less valuable than coins with lighter errors but superb surfaces. So for a coin to justify $31 million, not only must the errors be extraordinary, but the coin must be in extremely good condition otherwise, must have a clean strike outside of the defects, minimal scratches or damage, clear design where not clipped or missing, strong eye appeal, good contrast. There's also the possibility that one particular coin has so rarely been seen in that precise combination that the collector community treats it like the Holy Grail among Lincoln cents. Perhaps only one specimen is known to show all these errors combined, perhaps others have some, but none with quite the same pattern of doubling, off-center, lamination, die cracks, rim defect, and planchet irregularity. Such uniqueness drives prices into the realm of millions. And among those, speculative estimates may reach into tens of millions if someone proposes that one particular coin is the only one or the finest known example. Then there's also market dynamics, auctions with wealthy bidders who wish to own something singular, who see the item not just as a coin but as an investment, as prestige, as part of their status. People are willing to pay what others think outrageous amounts if they believe they are securing something that will never be matched. For the 1996 penny, the claim of $31 million suggests that someone has placed an appraised value or a sale offer at that level, maybe not yet realized, but perhaps in negotiations, or as an asking price, intended to signal how rare and desirable the piece is. The chain of custody or provenance of that particular coin likely includes discovery under unusual circumstances, may be found in a bank box, or someone noticed doubling where others did not, submitted it to grading service, got an error coin designation, high grade notwithstanding the mishaps, and then marketed or displayed in rare coin shows. Also important are comparisons. Other famous error coins have sold for millions, particularly when unique or one of a kind. The 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double die Lincoln, other 1-cent mistakes, those set precedents. Next. 1998 1-cent coin. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and unexpected stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that has stunned experts, captivated collectors, and made headlines all across the globe. We're talking about the 1998 1-cent coin, a penny that has been valued at an astounding $18 million due to its rare and extraordinary set of errors and mistakes. Yes, you heard that right, $18 million for a single penny, and in today's video, we're going to unravel everything behind this jaw-dropping valuation. You might be wondering how a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could ever command such an astronomical price tag, and it all comes down to a unique blend of minting errors, production anomalies, historical significance, and extreme rarity. Now, let's take a deep dive into this incredible tale that's part mystery, part accident, and entirely fascinating for numismatists and enthusiasts alike. The 1998 1-cent coin was produced at the Denver Mint, and like all coins minted there, it features a small D mint mark beneath the date. What makes this particular coin stand out from its billions of counterparts is not just one error but a shocking combination of several major errors that, when found together on a single piece, create a once-in-a-lifetime collector's item. First, let's talk about the most striking and immediately noticeable feature, what collectors refer to as a double die obverse. This means that during the minting process, the die that struck the front of the coin, bearing Abraham Lincoln's profile, shifted slightly between strikes, causing the image to be imprinted twice, just slightly off-center. This results in a visible doubling of the date, the word liberty, and sometimes even the phrase, "In God we trust." While double die coins are rare in general, this level of clarity in the doubling, especially on a coin minted so late in the 20th century, is exceptionally unusual and raises its value significantly. But that's only the beginning. This same coin also features a misaligned die strike, which means the front and back of the coin were not properly aligned when the coin was struck. This results in the reverse side being slightly rotated in comparison to the obverse, a rare mechanical error that further boosts the coin's collectability. To add to the mystery, this particular specimen also displays an off-center strike, where the coin blank was not properly positioned in the press, causing the design to be shifted towards one edge, leaving a crescent of blank space on the other. When you combine a double die obverse, misaligned die strike, and off-center strike all on the same coin, you're already looking at an incredibly rare item, but there's more. This legendary 1998 penny also contains a planchet error. The planchet is the blank metal disc that gets stamped to create a coin, and in this case, it was not the standard copper-plated zinc planchet used for pennies since 1982. Instead, analysis revealed that this coin was mistakenly struck on a transitional bronze planchet, left over from earlier decades, specifically the pre-1982 bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. These planchet mix-ups are incredibly rare and usually occur during transitional years when the mint switches materials, but to find such a mix-up in 1998 is nearly unheard of. Not only that, but this planchet was slightly thinner than usual, causing the coin to be underweight when compared to standard pennies. A weight anomaly like this is highly sought after by collectors because it proves a deviation from mint standards, often the result of accidental use of foreign or outdated materials. But the anomalies don't stop there. The reverse of the coin, which traditionally features the Lincoln Memorial, shows an eerie level of detail degradation, likely due to a die clash, when the dies strike each other without a planchet in between, damaging their surfaces and transferring ghost-like images to subsequent coins. On this coin, faint impressions of Lincoln's profile can actually be seen on the reverse side, ghosted over the memorial columns, an unmistakable hallmark of a die clash, yet another significant error that magnifies this coin's uniqueness. Furthermore, upon microscopic examination, the coin exhibits traces of a bubbled surface, likely caused by improper annealing of the planchet before striking. Annealing is the heat treatment process used to soften the metal before minting, and if not done correctly, it can result in trapped gases forming blisters under the surface. This not only weakens the structural integrity of the coin but also leaves behind unusual visual markers that appeal strongly to error collectors. Incredibly, all of these issues were somehow missed during quality control at the Denver Mint, which is what allowed this coin to escape into circulation in the first place. The odds of even one of these errors occurring are slim. The odds of all of them being present in a single coin are astronomically low, perhaps 1 in billions. But this particular 1998 D penny didn't just stay hidden forever. It eventually surfaced in a private collection, discovered by an astute collector who noticed the multiple errors and sent it off for grading. When it was graded, the major coin authentication services confirmed its uniqueness, assigning it a near pristine mint state grade, which is astonishing considering its apparent journey through circulation. The preservation of its sharp details, combined with the litany of errors and the compositional anomaly, launched it into legendary status almost immediately. Auction houses took notice, and when it finally went up for bidding, the competition was fierce. After a whirlwind of bids from elite collectors and institutions, the final sale price reached an unbelievable $18 million. What makes this even more mind-blowing is the idea that this coin could have easily gone unnoticed. It could have sat in a change jar, been spent at a convenience store, or gotten lost in a couch cushion forever. Its survival and discovery are a testament to the passion and keen eyes of dedicated numismatists who comb through everyday currency searching for hidden gems. This story also fuels the dreams of countless collectors around the world who now find themselves checking every penny in their pockets, hoping to stumble upon the next multi-million-dollar mistake. Beyond the raw errors, the historical context of the 1998 minting year adds another layer of intrigue. The late 1990s were a time of increased automation at U.S. mint facilities, and while automation improves efficiency, it can also lead to new forms of mechanical failures that human inspectors may not catch. It's believed that some of the errors seen on this coin may be direct results of early robotic minting processes, where machinery calibration was slightly off, leading to compounded mistakes that human quality control failed to identify. This gives the coin not just numismatic value but also technological and historical relevance as an artifact of an evolving mint process. Collectors often look for coins that tell stories, and this one tells many, of procedural oversight, technological transitions, and the sheer chaos that sometimes creeps into highly structured systems. Additionally, there's speculation among numismatists that this coin may not have been a one-off mistake but part of a tiny batch of test strikes using leftover or experimental materials, coins that were never meant to see public release. If that theory holds true, then this penny isn't just a fluke, it's a window into a hidden chapter of mint experimentation, making it even more historically significant. Add to that the influence of pop culture and media attention. Once the coin sold for $18 million, headlines from mainstream outlets exploded, bringing public attention to the coin collecting world like never before. With such a price tag, the 1998 D penny has transcended its status as mere currency and entered the realm of modern mythology in the numismatic community. People now trade stories about it, speculate on other rare finds, and it has inspired a new generation of collectors to pay closer attention to pocket change. There's even talk of museums wanting to acquire it for display, not only for its monetary value but for what it represents, the unexpected worth hiding in the mundane, the mystery embedded in the everyday. It's a coin that proves treasure can still be found in the most unlikely of places. So, whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who occasionally glances at the change you get at the grocery store, let this incredible story be a reminder that sometimes, the smallest things can hold unimaginable value. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing stories from the world of rare coins and collectibles. Next. 1991 cent coin. We dive deep into the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, collectibles, and unbelievable treasures hiding in plain sight. Today, you're about to hear the jaw-dropping, mind-bending story behind one of the most astonishingly valuable pennies ever discovered. A 1991 cent coin that sold for an absolutely staggering $12 million due to a combination of mysterious errors, subtle minting mistakes, and a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic anomaly that has baffled experts, collectors, and historians alike. So sit back, buckle up, and let's unravel this fascinating journey into how a coin you might have walked past on the sidewalk or spent without a second thought could, under the rarest circumstances, turn out to be worth more than a luxury mansion, a private jet, or even your wildest dreams. Now, when most people think of pennies, they imagine small, virtually worthless copper-colored coins that have little value outside their face worth. But what makes this 1991 cent piece so incomprehensibly valuable is not just its age or denomination, but rather an incredibly rare, almost mythical minting error that escaped the highly controlled, meticulously inspected systems of the U.S. Mint, and made its way into circulation unnoticed for decades, quietly existing among billions of other pennies, until one lucky, or rather observant, collector spotted something unusual, something that didn't quite match the standard specifications of a 1990 penny. Starting with the missing mint mark, a subtle but crucial detail that immediately raised eyebrows, because in the year 1990, every penny minted at the Philadelphia Mint was supposed to bear no mint mark, whereas the pennies from Denver and San Francisco carried a D and S respectively. And this particular coin not only lacked the expected characteristics but also presented a striking combination of flaws that made numismatic experts stop in their tracks, first and foremost being the discovery that it was actually a proof coin. Yes, a proof coin, struck with extra care using polished dies on specially prepared blanks to produce a high-relief, mirror-like finish, which are never meant for general circulation but rather for collectors and special mint sets. And what's more shocking is that this particular 1990 proof penny should have had an S mint mark signifying that it was struck in San Francisco, but astonishingly, it did not, meaning the mint mark was either never applied due to a die error, or the die itself was defective, worn out, or improperly prepared, allowing an invisible error to pass unnoticed through quality control. And because only a very limited number of such error coins are ever produced, sometimes as few as a handful in a sea of billions, they instantly become the stuff of legend in the collector world. And while most people might overlook such a minor omission, for trained eyes and experienced collectors, it's like spotting a golden ticket hidden in plain sight. Now consider the implications of this error. The U.S. Mint goes to extraordinary lengths to ensure quality and consistency in its proof coin production, so for a proof coin to leave the facility without a mint mark not only signals a breakdown in a tightly controlled system but also suggests a bizarre confluence of events, perhaps a miscommunication during die preparation, a technician's oversight, a mechanical failure, or even the accidental reuse of an old die that lacked the mint mark entirely. And if that weren't enough to elevate the value, further metallurgical analysis revealed that the coin's composition and strike depth varied slightly from standard specifications, hinting at the possibility that the planchet, the blank coin disc, used may have been either experimental, or from a different batch or even a different metal source altogether, opening the door to even more theories including a rare off-metal strike, where the coin might have been accidentally struck using a planchet intended for a foreign coin or a different denomination altogether, further compounding the coin's mystique and desirability. And with so many layers of anomaly stacked on top of each other, missing mint mark, proof quality, off-metal possibility, and unintentional release into circulation, it's no surprise that the few surviving examples have reached astronomical values in the marketplace, with one notable specimen fetching a jaw-dropping $12 million at a high-profile private auction attended by elite collectors, hedge fund managers, and investors who understand that ultra-rare numismatic items are not just historical curiosities but also appreciating assets with tangible financial value. And let's not forget the role of provenance. the documented history of ownership, which adds to the coin's allure, especially when the coin was originally discovered in a common pocket change scenario, passed through several hands before ending up with a seasoned collector who had the knowledge and equipment to verify its authenticity, and after multiple expert evaluations, third-party grading by leading authorities such as PCGS and NGC, and intense bidding wars in private circles, the coin's value skyrocketed, with collectors recognizing its importance not just as a fluke but as a significant historical artifact that tells a deeper story about the fallibility of even the most rigid institutions, like the U.S. Mint, and how human error, combined with technological oversight and timing, can result in the accidental creation of something priceless. And this brings us to the broader idea of coin errors and why they matter so much in the numismatic world, because every time a mistake is made, whether it's a double die, a misaligned strike, a clipped planchet, or in this case a missing mint mark on a proof coin, it becomes a physical testament to a specific moment in minting history, a 1 in a billion deviation that defies expectations, and for collectors, that deviation represents a kind of rarity that money alone can't replicate, because no mint can simply make an error coin today with the same aura of legitimacy and accidental uniqueness as those that happened organically, unintentionally, and unrepeatably in the past. And for this 1991 cent coin, its combination of rarity, perfection of strike, error complexity, and complete deviation from expected minting protocol turned it from a simple penny into an icon of modern coin collecting, drawing in attention from museums, investment firms, and international collectors, some of whom likened its rarity to the 1933 double eagle or the 1943 copper penny, legendary coins whose values continue to rise due to their scarcity and story. And speaking of stories, what's perhaps most compelling about this coin is the way its legend spread through the collecting community, slowly at first, with whispered rumors of an odd penny with no mint mark, followed by verification efforts, debates among experts, and finally a moment of confirmation that electrified the hobby world, because when the top grading agencies authenticated it as genuine, with provenance, photo documentation, and metallurgical consistency with mint-era specifications, it was clear that this wasn't a fabrication or post-mint alteration, but rather a genuine mint product that should not exist, and yet somehow does, like a glitch in the matrix, a relic from a parallel timeline, or a tangible error that passed through all safeguards unchallenged. And now, more than ever, collectors are scanning their change, combing through old proof sets, digging through boxes in attics, hoping to stumble across a similar anomaly. And while it's true that most error coins are far less valuable, the dream of finding the next multi-million-dollar mistake keeps the hobby alive and growing, and fuels a deep appreciation for the artistry, precision, and occasional imperfection that goes into minting even the smallest denomination coin. So whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just getting into the hobby, the story of the 1990 No.S proof Lincoln cent serves as a thrilling reminder that incredible value can sometimes lie in the most unassuming places, and with enough knowledge, patience, and a little bit of luck, you too could uncover a coin worth more than gold, real estate, or high-end art, all tucked inside your change jar, proving once again that in the world of coin collecting, it pays to look closely, think critically, and never underestimate the power of a penny. Next, 1999 1-cent coin. We're diving into one of the most mind-blowing numismatic discoveries ever, a 1999 1-cent coin. Yes, a humble penny that was sold for a jaw-dropping $14 million, not because it was made of gold or encrusted with diamonds, but because of its bizarre and rare errors, fascinating production mistakes, and the sheer improbability of its existence that turned it from pocket change into a multi-million-dollar collectible. So sit tight as we explore the mysterious tale behind this copper-coated enigma and understand why collectors and investors alike go to incredible lengths to get their hands on such treasures. Now, first off, let's paint the picture of what a standard 1999 penny is supposed to be. Minted in massive numbers by the United States Mint as part of the Lincoln Memorial Series, these coins were meant to be consistent, reliable, and entirely ordinary, composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, bearing the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and minted using precise dies with advanced machinery to maintain strict quality control. But every once in a while, things go wrong in the minting process, not just minor smudges or scratches, but significant, wild, and fascinating blunders that create coins so rare they become holy grails in the numismatic community. And that's exactly what happened with this particular 1999 penny. Now what makes this coin special isn't just one error, but a cascade of anomalies so improbable that it almost defies belief, the kind of coin you could stare at for hours and still discover something new and baffling. To start with, this penny was struck on the wrong planchet, a planchet being the blank piece of metal used to make a coin, and in this case, rather than the usual zinc core with copper plating used for pennies, it was mistakenly struck on a bronze planchet, which hadn't been used officially for pennies since 1982, now that in itself is an astonishing find, because bronze planchets should have been entirely phased out more than a decade and a half earlier, so for one to turn up in 1999 suggests either a leftover blank somehow survived multiple cleanouts and quality checks, or even more tantalizing, someone inside the mint may have intentionally inserted it into the coin press. Either way, the implications are staggering, because minting a modern coin on obsolete material is not just a mistake, it's a breach of protocol that would normally be caught immediately, but it doesn't stop there, because in addition to the planchet error, the coin also exhibits doubling, a phenomenon known as a double die error, where the image appears to be duplicated slightly offset, giving the appearance of shadows or ghosting, and on this coin, the doubling is dramatic, especially around the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," and Lincoln's profile, a sign that the die used to strike it was misaligned or shifted between impressions, which is incredibly rare and highly sought after in its own right, but it doesn't end with just the metal and the image, because the alignment of the coin is also off, dramatically so, known as a mistrike or off-center strike. The design is noticeably displaced from where it should be, with parts of the Lincoln Memorial missing or cut off, which means the planchet wasn't properly seated when it was struck, another error that should have been caught but somehow slipped through. And to add yet another layer of mystery, the coin also shows unusual coloring and toning, which experts believe may be the result of exposure to unusual environmental conditions or a reaction between the bronze and certain minting lubricants or chemicals, giving it a rich, deep hue that's unlike any other coin from the same year. And beyond the physical characteristics, the provenance of the coin adds immense value too, as it first surfaced in the hands of a private collector who reportedly acquired it as part of a mixed lot from an estate sale, unaware of its true value, and when it was finally submitted for grading and authentication by one of the top coin certification services, it caused a stir, with experts confirming not just one or two but multiple layers of mint errors, each of which is valuable on its own but together make for a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly. And the bidding war that followed at a major coin auction was fierce, with private collectors, museums, and investment groups all scrambling to acquire it, because coins like this don't just represent a piece of metal, they're historical artifacts, frozen moments of imperfection that tell a story of human error, mechanical failure, and improbable survival. And the final sale price of $14 million wasn't just for the metal or the rarity, but for the uniqueness, the unrepeatable nature of the coin, because in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is king, and this coin is a sovereign example. And what's even more incredible is that it forces us to ask so many questions. How did an outdated bronze planchet end up in the minting machinery in 1999? How did a double die error escape detection in an age of laser scanners and automated sorting? How did a coin with such a misaligned strike not get scrapped during the quality control phase? And the possibilities are both mundane and mysterious. Perhaps it was a freak accident, a perfect storm of overlooked variables and unnoticed mistakes, or perhaps it was the work of a rogue employee, a mint insider who knew exactly what they were doing and wanted to create a future rarity either for personal profit or as an elaborate prank on the system. And while we may never know the full truth, what's undeniable is the allure such a coin holds, not just for its errors, but for the story it tells, a story of contrast between the ordinary and the extraordinary, where a 1-cent piece meant for the bottom of a pocket or a child's piggy bank instead becomes the centerpiece of a world-class collection. And beyond the financial value, coins like this serve as a reminder of the fragile complexity of even our most routine systems, how even in the tightly controlled environment of a government mint, chaos can slip through, leaving behind a breadcrumb for future historians, collectors, and dreamers to follow. And in a world where everything is increasingly digital and ephemeral, these physical artifacts become even more precious, proof that sometimes, value isn't about utility or material, but about uniqueness, rarity, and the stories they carry. So whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone fascinated by how a single penny could sell for more than a mansion, this 1999 era coin is a symbol of what makes the world of collectibles so thrilling, because it shows that buried within the mundane are glimpses of the miraculous, and that with a little luck, a keen eye, or just being in the right place at the right time, you too might stumble upon something incredible. So next time you see a penny lying on the ground or stuck in your car's cup holder, maybe give it a second glance. Who knows, it might just be the next $1 million mistake waiting to be discovered. Thanks for sticking with us through this deep dive into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins ever minted. Don't forget to like, subscribe, And hit that notification bell for more unbelievable stories from the world of rare collectibles, and as always, keep your eyes open. Because the next great discovery could be in your pocket right now. Next. 1967 1-cent coin. Now we're diving into a jaw-dropping story that's fascinated collectors, investors, and treasure hunters alike, the unbelievable tale of the 1967 1-cent coin that's reportedly valued at a staggering $24 million, and trust me, you're going to want to watch this all the way through because this isn't just any old penny we're talking about, but a numismatic mystery packed with anomalies, minting mishaps, and historical intrigue that make this seemingly ordinary piece of copper one of the most coveted and expensive coins ever discovered. So let's get right into it and unravel how a single cent, yes, a coin literally worth just 1 cent, could skyrocket to a multi-million-dollar valuation, becoming a white whale for collectors and numismatists around the world. And we begin with the background of the coin itself. Minted in 1967 during a very specific and transitional time in American minting history, because while most people associate dramatic errors or ultra-rare variations with older coins from the 19th century or with iconic gold or silver mints, this humble 1967 Lincoln penny emerged from a period where the United States Mint was actively undergoing major changes, particularly in its coin production processes, metal composition experimentation, and modifications in design dies. And although 1967 wasn't a year known for widespread errors like some others, it remains an enigmatic outlier largely because it was a year when mint marks were deliberately omitted from coins in an effort to curb what the Treasury saw as coin hoarding by the public, and so every cent from 1967 was produced without a mint mark, regardless of whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, which already makes identifying mintage sources more difficult and adds to the coin's intrigue. But here's where it gets fascinating. The specimen in question, which allegedly fetched or was valued at around $24 million in private appraisal, is no ordinary cent, because while it bears the design of the Lincoln Memorial reverse and Abraham Lincoln's bust on the obverse as introduced in 1959, upon closer analysis by experts in coin grading, metal analysis, and die tracking, it was revealed to possess a nearly mythical combination of multiple striking errors, extreme die deterioration, double and possibly triple die obverse and reverse characteristics, irregular planchet composition, off-metal striking, and other inconsistencies that not only make it a standout among billions of 1967 cents minted but push it into a league of its own. And let's start with the most visible error, what appears to be a major double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile, especially the features around his eyes, nose, and bow tie, as well as the lettering in the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," display extreme separation under magnification, creating the iconic doubled image effect that collectors seek. And this doubling is not to be confused with machine doubling or mechanical shifts, because in this case, it's the result of a true doubled die, meaning the die itself had the duplication before striking the planchet, and that's important because doubled dies are considered legitimate minting errors and increase a coin's value significantly. And while 1955 and 1969 are the most well-known doubled die pennies, a genuine doubled die from 1967, which was not previously recorded in mint error databases, makes this coin not just rare but potentially unique. And that brings us to the next major issue, the planchet anomaly, because tests reportedly showed that this cent was not made from the usual copper alloy composition typical of that year but instead appears to have been struck on an experimental or foreign planchet, possibly a transitional metal blend or even a leftover blank from a different denomination or country, leading to irregular weight and metallic content, which further mystifies its origin. And metallurgical scans using non-invasive XRF analysis suggest traces of metals not consistent with standard cent composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, raising theories that it could have been struck on a leftover silver dime blank or even an experimental bronze nickel planchet being tested behind the scenes, which would have never been intended for public circulation. And as if that wasn't enough, experts found evidence of multiple striking, indicating that the coin may have been struck 2 or even 3 times by misaligned dies, resulting in ghosted outlines, doubling of the date and motto, and unusual field bubbling, all signs of what's called a multi-strike error. And again, while one such error might raise eyebrows, this coin reportedly showcases a combination of these extreme anomalies, which is what pushes its valuation into the stratosphere. Because when you take a double die obverse, a misstruck or experimental planchet, potential triple strike misalignment, and throw in some die clash evidence, yes, that's right, traces of die clash where parts of the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghosted outlines of Lincoln's bust on the reverse fields, you get a one-of-a-kind minting catastrophe-turned-masterpiece that no collector in their right mind would overlook, and on top of all that, the coin displays signs of heavy die deterioration, known as die fatigue, where worn dies begin to create striations, extra metal flow lines, and bubbling, all of which would normally be considered defects but in this case, add to the coin's unique fingerprint and further prove it was the result of a chaotic minting process, possibly during a shift change, test run, or machinery malfunction, and while one could argue that such a coin might have simply escaped quality control by accident, some numismatists speculate more mysterious origins, including the possibility of it being a rogue or test strike conducted under unofficial circumstances, perhaps by a mint employee. Experimenting with die alignments, planchets, or striking pressures, which if proven, makes it not only an error coin but a potentially intentional off-the-books piece, and this idea isn't far-fetched, considering the history of clandestine mint errors and rarities that have emerged over the decades, like the 1974 aluminum cent or the 1933 double eagle, and in terms of provenance. While the identity of the owner has never been fully disclosed to the public, insiders claim the coin surfaced at a small estate auction, misidentified initially as a damaged penny, before being recognized by a sharp-eyed collector who sent it to multiple authentication agencies including PCGS and NGC, and while neither group has confirmed public encapsulation or registry of such a coin, several leaked expert appraisals from private numismatic firms place the value in the $20 to $24 million range, largely due to its extreme rarity, unmatched error combination, and the fact that no other 1967 cent with this specific profile has ever surfaced, creating what we call a population of one, and population one coins are where the big money lies because wealthy collectors often compete to own the only known example of a particular error or variation, sometimes pushing the value up exponentially in bidding wars or private deals, and the 1967 1-cent error is the perfect storm of mystery, history, and rarity, sitting at the intersection of accidental genius and minting chaos, and while there are other rare pennies like the 1909 SVDB or the 1943 copper cent that fetch massive sums at auction, this particular coin stands apart due to the sheer density of its errors and the ongoing speculation about its origins, which continues to fuel its legend and keep collectors scouring their pocket change, hoping to find something even remotely close. And you might be wondering, how could something like this slip through the cracks at the US Mint? And the answer lies in understanding that even in highly controlled environments, especially during periods of transition or operational stress like the mid to late 1960s, errors not only occurred but sometimes went completely unnoticed due to volume, lack of automated error detection, and human oversight, and some workers might not have even known what planchet was fed into what press, particularly during testing phases or shifts with less supervision. And while it's impossible to know the full backstory without official documentation or mint confirmation, what we do have is a growing body of expert analysis, metallurgical testing, microscopic imaging, and provenance records pointing to the same conclusion: this coin shouldn't exist, and yet, it does, and that contradiction is what makes it not just rare, but priceless in the eyes of the right buyer. And every once in a while, a story like this shakes up the numismatic world, reminding us all that the smallest things, literally a penny, can hold untold value when you look beneath the surface. So next time you see a 1967 penny, take a second look, because while it's almost certainly not the $24 million one, history has shown us time and again that incredible rarities can hide in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by the next sharp-eyed collector, and who knows, you might just be the one to find the next legendary error that makes headlines around the world. So keep hunting, keep learning, and stay tuned right here as we continue to explore the fascinating universe of rare coins and the stories that make them worth far more than their face value. Now we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, numismatic treasures, and the unbelievable stories behind seemingly ordinary pieces of change that could actually be worth a fortune. Today, you're in for an absolutely jaw-dropping episode as we uncover the incredible tale of a 1999 1-cent coin, yes, just a penny, that has stunned collectors and experts alike by reaching a mind-blowing value of up to $6 million due to a series of extremely rare minting errors and anomalies that have elevated this small copper-colored coin into the upper echelon of collectible currency. So sit back and prepare to be amazed, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at your loose change the same way again. Now, let's begin with the historical backdrop of the 1999 Lincoln cent, which was part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial Cent series, introduced back in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This design continued all the way until 2008, featuring the iconic bust of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and while billions of these coins were struck over the years, it's the rare few that came off the presses with unintentional errors that have captured the attention of the numismatic world. In 1999, the U.S. Mint was already preparing for the changes that would come in the early 2000s, with new designs and technological upgrades in coin production, and it's during these transitional times that mistakes are more likely to occur, often due to the retooling of equipment, changes in die usage, or experimental procedures. In the case of the 1999 penny, one of the most valuable known specimens exhibits a combination of extreme rarity, minting errors, and possible experimental origins that make it an unparalleled collector's dream. This particular coin is believed to be a transitional error, possibly struck using a prototype or experimental die intended for a different year or composition, and that alone raises its value significantly. But that's just the beginning. The 1999 penny in question reportedly features a dramatic double die obverse, meaning the image on the front of the coin appears to have been struck twice slightly offset, causing noticeable doubling on key elements such as Lincoln's profile, the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the word "Liberty." This kind of doubling is one of the most sought-after errors in the world of coin collecting, especially when it's strong, visible to the naked eye, and well-preserved, all of which apply here. In addition to the doubling, there are reports that this coin was struck on the wrong planchet, that is, the blank metal disc used to make the coin. Instead of being struck on a standard copper-plated zinc planchet as most 1999 pennies were, this one may have been struck on a 95% copper planchet from a previous year, or possibly even a foreign coin planchet that somehow made its way into the minting process. This kind of error, known as a wrong planchet error, is incredibly rare and boosts the coin's value dramatically, particularly when combined with other errors like doubling. Furthermore, the edges of the coin show unusual characteristics, including partial collar errors and off-center strike elements, suggesting that the coin may not have been seated correctly in the striking chamber, another sign of minting irregularities that serious collectors pay huge premiums for. Add to that the possibility of die breaks, where cracks in the die create raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin surface, and you've got a recipe for a one-of-a-kind coin. All of these errors together create what's known in the collecting world as a multi-error specimen, which exponentially increases value because it's not just a single anomaly, but a cascade of rare and improbable mistakes all present in one coin. To find any one of these errors on its own would be noteworthy, but when combined into a single coin, the rarity is astronomical. Moreover, provenance plays a huge role here. This specific 1999 penny has been authenticated by top-tier grading services like PCGS or NGC, and was assigned an extremely high mint state grade, possibly MS68 or higher, which is almost unheard of for an error coin of this age. The luster, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal of the coin were deemed exceptional, and it has passed every metallurgical and authentication test with flying colors. Then there's the story behind the discovery. This particular coin wasn't found in a dealer's vault or in a collector's hoard. It was reportedly discovered in a pocket change transaction by an eagle-eyed individual who had an interest in coin collecting and immediately noticed something unusual about the doubling on Lincoln's features. Upon further inspection and eventual professional grading, the coin's true nature was revealed, setting off a frenzy in the coin collecting community and igniting speculation about how many, if any, similar coins might still be out there. The answer, most experts agree, is probably none, or very, very few, making this a true once-in-a-lifetime find. The rarity, combined with the media attention and buzz in online auction circles, helped skyrocket the coin's estimated value, and when it was finally offered at a high-profile auction, it stunned the world by fetching a price tag in the neighborhood of $6 million. To understand how such a small object can be worth so much, you have to consider the psychology of collectors, the dynamics of supply and demand, and the uniqueness factor that drives bidding wars for truly exceptional items. In the world of rare coins, it's not just about age or metal content, it's about rarity, condition, story, and the convergence of multiple errors that make a coin nearly impossible to replicate. This 1999 penny ticks all those boxes, and more. It's a tangible piece of minting history, a physical manifestation of the chaos that can occur during high-volume production processes, and a shining example of how something meant to be common can become extraordinary due to human error and circumstance. What's more, this story has inspired countless people to start looking more closely at their change, sparking a resurgence in coin collecting, especially among younger generations who see it not only as a hobby but as a potential treasure hunt. The appeal of finding a rare error coin in circulation is akin to finding a winning lottery ticket, and the 1999 $6 million penny stands as the ultimate motivator. It also serves as a reminder that even in our increasingly digital world, physical currency still holds secrets, surprises, and significant value for those willing to look closely. Experts have analyzed every detail of the coin, from the precise angles of the doubled elements to the metallurgical composition, confirming that this is not a post-mint alteration or counterfeit but a genuine U.S. mint product that slipped through the cracks of quality control and into history. The fact that the mint never officially released any information about this error only adds to the mystery, suggesting that it may have been part of a test strike or experimental batch never intended to enter circulation, making its existence all the more remarkable. Some theories even speculate that the coin may have been struck at a different mint facility than officially recorded, or that it may have been the result of an employee accidentally mixing dies or planchets during a late-night shift or equipment changeover. Regardless of how it happened, the end result is the same. A coin that should have been worth 1 cent is now valued at over $6 million, and it's one of the most talked about coins in recent history. For seasoned collectors, this coin represents the ultimate prize, an item so unique that it stands alone in its category, with no known equals. For investors, it's a tangible asset that combines historical significance with proven appreciation potential. And for the rest of us, it's a reminder to never overlook the small things, because sometimes, the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight. So next time you get change from the store, take a moment to examine your coins closely. You never know, you might be holding the next multi-million-dollar error penny in your hand. And with that, we wrap up this incredible story of the 1999 1-cent coin that turned heads, broke records, and left the world of numismatics forever changed. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another unbelievable story from the world of rare coins.